Alright, here's how to get started with Premiere Pro in 15 minutes. First things first, open a new project. Name this project whatever you want and decide on the location of where you want that project. I'm going to set it on the desktop for now. Everything else you can leave as default. From here, the first thing you want to do is import media. Don't worry if the Premiere project doesn't look exactly the same. You should always have something that says assembly and you can reset it to saved layout and you'll basically see what I'm seeing here. So the first method is to double click on this area right here to import your videos or audio. And I don't like doing that method. So I'm on a Mac and I created another window where I can just slide over. Here are my Finder windows that have my footage. And you can just drag it and drop it in here. The cool thing about this is you don't have to do this one at a time. What I'm doing is holding Command and clicking on the folders and single files and then just dragging them in here. And as you can see, everything is imported. The next step is to create a sequence. The easiest way to do this is to right click, new sequence from clip. And then you have yourself a sequence made exactly the same frame rate and size as whatever clip you used. I'm going to adjust my workspace just a little bit. You can do that by dragging the edges here. So as you can see, we already have a timeline and sequence. But if you don't like doing it that way and you want more customization, you can go to File, New, and then hit Sequence. From here, you can customize your own by going to Settings. I usually keep things the way they are listed out here. Of course, you can use the sequence presets as well if you find one that suits you, but I tend to just customize it. And as you can see, a new sequence is created, but I'm just going to go with this one that we already created. And also, I don't like having these things just roaming around. So what I'm going to do is create a bin. You can right click, new bin, and then name it whatever you want. I'll just call it footage for now, and then just drag it in footage. The sequence, you can rename it to whatever you like, test video. And I always like to save, so I click Command S pretty often. So if you see something pop up, that just means I'm saving. And the next step would be to sift through your footage. There's multiple ways that you can do this. I'll show you the way that I don't do first. I'm going to go to the editing workspace, and from here, my project panel moved down and there's a source right here. If you double click on a video file, you'll see the preview come up for it. And it's not quite in the timeline yet, it's just on a separate display right here. And if you want to drag the entire thing in, you can move my player to where I want it to come in and then click comma. And now it drags in the entire thing. And because this footage right here is 4K and this one is 1080, it's going to be different sizes. So I actually want this to be 1080. What you can do is actually go into Sequence and click Sequence Settings. And from here, I'm going to change this to 1920 by 1080. And as you can see, this clip is now the correct size, and this one is 4K, so it's not. So what I'm going to do is right click here and click Set to Frame Size. And now it is the correct size for 1080. So going back to the editing, if you want a part of the clip, not the entire clip, you can click I for the in point, and then O for the out point, and then drag the clip in either video only, or you can go ahead and click comma again, and it'll basically do it where your playhead is. So if your playhead is here and you click comma here, what's going to happen is you just placed it in the middle in between what used to be. I'm going to undo this clip right here. So just be careful with that. And again, this is not the method that I prefer. So I'll show you my method. Let's go back to assembly for the workspace. And my personal method is just grabbing this entire thing like this and dragging all of the clips in like this. And literally just using the timeline to look through it and then cut out the parts that I don't want by either using the razor tool or using a lot of shortcut keys, which I won't really cover in this video. I'll definitely do a more in-depth video on it later. But the basic ones are using the razor tool here, which is the C button. It's better you use shortcuts because it's going to speed up your process a lot. You can cut, click V to go back to the same regular mouse, click on the clip, either delete it, or you can also ripple delete it, which for me, I set as a Shift F. But if you want to set something as ripple delete, you can go into Premiere Pro, keyboard shortcuts, type in ripple delete. And from there, you can see that I have it as a Shift F right here. So again, this is basically what I do. I just drag around the footage, adjust it. You can click on the space, ripple delete, and so on. Now, personally for me, I'm not a fan of the way that this workspace looks. What I like doing instead is opening up window, adding effects, and then dragging this right here to the bottom. And I also like just moving that up. And if you see something that says show transport controls, you can get rid of it by clicking this wrench right here and then removing it like that. So the video is a little bit bigger. I'll also make it slightly bigger. And if you want to save this as your new workspace, all you got to do is have this open and then click on the lines and save as new workspace. After you save it, let's say I named it S, you will see it appear on the right side right here. So find the way that you like working and then save that as a new workspace. It's going to save you some time. And also, if you're worried about something being too small, you can always maximize it by hovering over that panel, like say the project panel, and clicking the thing next to 1. I believe it's called the tilde key. And as you can see, it maximizes the entire panel. So if I'm going to hover over this one, which shows the video, then the timeline, and then the effects. All right, so let's go ahead and get into keyframing. After you finish sequencing your footage the way that you like it, let's say you want to add in certain effects, you want to add certain images. I'll go ahead and add an image right now by just dragging it in and then dragging it in here. And as you can see, this is Belle right here, my dog. And what I'm going to do is show you guys how to keyframe. So you want to open the window which says Effects Control. So let's go ahead and keyframe. I want this image right here to zoom out. So what I'm going to do is create a keyframe by clicking toggle animation here. As you can see, there's a new thing created right there. And I'm going to create another one by moving the playhead a bit and then adding keyframe. And what I'm going to do is decrease the scale so that I'm zooming out. So if I go ahead and play it, you will see that we do a zoom out on this image right here. So if I move it really close, it's just going to go real fast. And you can also zoom in here by clicking equal sign or zoom out by clicking minus sign. Same thing for the timeline window. Now what I'm going to do is show you guys how to change the motion to make it a little bit more interesting. You can either highlight both of them, right click, and then click something like Bezier. And then you can see that if you click on this right here. So this shows you the velocity of what's going on. So I'm going to change it for you guys to see what's happening. This shape right here, what's going to happen is it's going to go real fast and then slow down afterwards. So that's how you add keyframes to scale, and basically the same principles apply to every other thing. There's also opacity if you want to make it fade in. So let's say that's 100 right here and then 0% right there. And now it's going to fade in. So that is the basics of keyframing. Moving on, let's say you wanted to spice up your video and add some graphics and titles. The easiest way to do that is you can click here, which is the type tool, and then just type something Belle. And from here, obviously this text kind of looks meh. So let's go ahead and open up the graphics panel. It's called Essential Graphics. And you can click on the text and change it the way you want. So I'm going to go ahead and change the font to something else real quick. Let's go for something with a bit more character. And then you can change the color where it says appearance. The cool thing is you can add a stroke and also add like a shadow. This isn't my best work because I'm sort of going fast, but that's how you edit text and change it around. If you want another one on the same layer right here, what you can do is simply go to this paper looking thing and click new layer, and you can add either another text like that, or you can go ahead and add something like a rectangle to make things look a bit more interesting. As you can see, this rectangle is covering it. That's because it's at the top. You want to reorder it, put it at the bottom. And this rectangle isn't very good looking, so I'm just gonna change it. If you highlight both of them, what you can do is make them centered to each other by aligning it vertically and horizontally. Now we have a text with a box. I could probably make it look a lot better, but that is the gist of it. And you can also keyframe these as well if you want to just make them appear or something. If you go into effects control like before and you highlight the layer right here, you can see that there are two layers called text and shape, and that's basically what we just created. They have their own transform, so you can change the position of each one in the same effects control window. We just created a quick animation for this box and text. Let's say you want to add more stuff on top. So you can just either move this to the top and it'll create a new one for you, or you can click one of these things right here, right click it, and then add track like that. And basically a new track will appear for you. Basically, whichever video layer is on top, that's what you're gonna see. All right, next we're gonna talk about effects, and you can find this by clicking Window and clicking effects, I have it right here. So the most used effects I would say are transitions. As you can see, there are a good amount of transitions, but I'll tell you which ones I use the most. It's either dip to black, click and drag towards the end, and what will happen if you play is it dips to black like that. Another one that I like using a lot is the cross dissolve. I'll place it right in between here, and this is how it looks. That's the transition that I feel like I use the most, so I set it as my default one. You can do that by right-clicking and set selected as default transition. The way you use that is by just highlighting both of these and then clicking Command D. Okay, the next thing you can do with effects is color correcting. So you can use the effect Lumetri Color and then drag it on and then adjust it like that. I'm not going to do that because you can just open up the window that says Lumetri Color, and basically we're going to just color correct from here. So the first thing you want to do is select the white balance, and you want to click whatever you feel is white inside your image. I'll click right there, and you can already see that it looks more correct in some ways. I do want it to be a little bit warmer, so I can either shift it towards the orange. That looks too weird. I'm going to shift it back just a little bit to the right of what it was before. I can adjust the exposure a little bit. It looks okay to me. Increase contrast. Increase the highlights, which are the brighter parts if you want, but the highlights are kind of really strong right now, so I'm going to actually decrease the highlights so you can see more of the image. I'm going to increase the shadows just a little bit, or if you want, you can also click auto, but personally, the results from auto aren't always the best. So here's Mines versus auto, and I think Mines contains a bit more detail. Maybe my shadow increase was a bit strong, but a lot of this is kind of subjective, so don't worry too much about the numbers, just trust your eyes. And I'm gonna increase the saturation just a little bit to make it look better overall, and I like also increasing the vibrance. So using the Lumetri Color effect is the best way, in my opinion, to color correct or color grade. Right now what I'm gonna do is show you guys how it looks before and after. So this was the after, and this was the before. To me, it makes a huge difference. And let's say you have a lot of clips to color correct. You don't need to redo that for every single one. One easy way to apply the effect is to go into Effects Control, click here at Lumetri Color, copy it, and then click on the next clip. Let's say this one didn't have it, so it was like a different clip or something. You can click here and then just paste it over. Another thing that you can do is right-click here and save it as a preset. Click OK. And you can go into effects. If you want, you can type in color because I named it that. So drone footage color, it'll be in presets. And let's say this one didn't have it. It's like a different clip. You can click and drag and then it'll be applied. So those are just two fast ways to apply the same effect on multiple clips. It works for pretty much any effect. All right, next we're going to talk about audio mixing. I usually have a voiceover or any dialogue audio at the very top layer. And then next we have music, which I usually put in audio layer 2 or 3, most of the time in 3 because I have 2 for sound effects or anything like that. So after having the audio stacked up, what I do is go to Window and click Audio Track Mixer. As you can see right here, when I play it, you'll hear all the audio being played at once, and you can also visualize it. So what I'm going to do is actually decrease the volume of the music by a lot. I feel like a lot of beginners actually make their music way too loud, so this is a good step to keep in mind. Another way to do this easily is to go to something called Essential Sound. If you have this clicked, you'll see this pop up, and I can label it as music and then change the preset to balanced background music. What that will do is decrease the volume of the music by a lot. The music should be around -15 to -20 decibels below what the dialogue audio is. Otherwise, it's a little too loud and kind of disruptive. All right, let's get into exporting. So the easiest way to export is to click Command M or just go to File, Export, and then Media. And what I did right here is something you should try to avoid doing. I accidentally clicked on this before doing that. What you want to do is click on the sequence right here. All right, now we have the correct one. You can tell by just looking right here. And you can see that I have a lot of black space. I'm making these mistakes on purpose so you guys can avoid them. Cancel again. What you want to do is make sure that there's nothing at the end of your sequence. So what I'm going to do is click A, click right here, and then delete. One more time. And now we see that it's at 3 minutes, which is exactly what I wanted. So next, what you want to do is set the format to H.264, change the preset to YouTube 1080, and then I check use maximum render quality. And from there, I export. And that's basically it. And those were the basics of Premiere Pro in 15 minutes. I will say, however, there's a lot that I didn't cover in this video. It's just meant to be a quick video for you guys to get started. If you found the video helpful, definitely subscribe because I will be making more videos on more specific functions of Premiere Pro. And if you have any requests, go ahead and leave them in the comments below. And also, if you're interested in this really cool function in Premiere Pro called Multicam, where you can switch between multiple cameras recording at the same time, I have a Skillshare class dedicated to that. I'll go ahead and leave a link down below that will get you guys 30 days free of Skillshare Premium if you decide to use it. Anyways, good luck with learning Premiere Pro. I'll see you guys in the next video.